And we are live. Welcome everyone to, well, as you can tell by the title, as you can tell by the thumbnail, as you can tell by what you can see on screen if you're watching on YouTube, the No Race podcast for the 2023 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Roll intro. It's a shame. It is a shame, of course. Thank you all for coming though. We were hoping to talk about an F1 race this weekend, but I'm afraid it's off. The race is cancelled. The race will not be going ahead at Imola. But we've still got stuff to talk about. We've always got stuff to talk about, haven't we? Come on. I didn't do one of these streams. I missed a stream. I missed a no race stream anyway. And now there's another no race stream. So it happens. Welcome Victor, Drago, Evan, Ram, Remy, Halita, Yankee, Nedo, Quis, Jared, ZX, Sava, Cena, Chaz, Max, Ewan, Florian, Noel, Jamie, Josho, Mr. Socko, Squanchy, that rusty one, Jonathan, Jozo, Axelgo, Finley, Jerome, Jason, Rune, Philip. Thank you to everyone who's watching live. Thank you to everyone who's listening to this after the fact. To everyone who's watching this after the fact. This is, of course, available on all good audio-only platforms. Bum, bum, bum. Lovely jubbly. Right. Let's talk about it then. Let's talk about the fact that round 6, Emilia Romagna, is cancelled. I'm sure all of you knew this coming into this stream anyway, but just in case you didn't. As you can see from the picture in the background of the text, there has been severe flooding, not just at the track, but in the Emilia Romagna region more broadly. And the race has been rightfully cancelled. Because in a situation like this, it's just not tenable to host an event that, brings some. I mean, I'm not sure what the capacity is at Imola. I know it's quite low down in terms of full. When it's at capacity, it's not got 300,000-400,000 people like we get at Austin, for example, or Silverstone, but it's still a significant number of people you're asking to go to an event that is waterlogged in a region where you need emergency services to run an F1 race. I did pull some pictures from local team on Twitter, which is local Italian news outlet. This is in Faenza, these images. You can't see, obviously, audio only, but at local team on Twitter if you want to find the true extent of actually what's going on. Because, yeah, it's awful. This is Faenza. This is where AlphaTauri is based. This is the hometown of AlphaTauri, and Ferrari are not too far away there in the Emilia Romagna region as well. So, as you can see, I mean, yeah, it's pretty awful. There's a river that runs right past Imola. I didn't even know that there was, to be honest, until this. And I believe, I'm not sure if this is the same river, but as you can see, it's pretty awful. So you cannot justify running an F1 race which requires ambulances, requires helicopters, like emergency helicopters, requires fire engines, all of that. You cannot justify that when this is going on. It's not about whether the track is in good, because I've seen a little bit of ignorance online. People, we never race in the wet anymore. It's not about that. The track itself, I mean, I'm sure it's not great in places, but even if there's no more rain between now, which isn't the case, but even if there's no more between now and Sunday, this does not get fixed overnight. Like, the burden this puts on at the end of the day, it's just cars going around in circles. And there's way more to a situation like this, you know what I mean? So, right decision was made in pretty good time. Ultimately, the decision was it was made yesterday morning. It was communicated in kind of mid-afternoon yesterday. So it's given time for teams to adjust, time for teams to, obviously there is personnel out there. But a lot hasn't. It's not got to the stage, where we're rocking up on a Friday for practice and then we cancel it with everyone there. You know what I mean? So, I'm glad there was. I think it was one of them that there was pressure from like kind of local government as well, I believe there was a Italian deputy prime minister or something, a title along those lines, came out and said the race should be cancelled. Obviously, with F1 and cancelling races, there's a lot of liability stuff. Remember Australia when it got cancelled for COVID? No one wanted to cancel it because no one wanted to be liable, because no one really knew what was going on because it was the start of the pandemic. But in this instance, it's pretty clear that it was never going to happen, and it should never happen when something like this is going on in the background. So there has actually been an appeal. I'll leave this on screen if anyone does want to donate. These are all the details that they're putting out. This has been shared by a bunch of F1 drivers. I've also put the IBAN code down in the description below. So if anyone does want to donate and help towards helping people out who are in that part of the world, then you're free and welcome to do so. Not cancelled, just delayed. Yeah, so the way F1 have worded it is that the race has been... I can't remember the word they I don't think they used the word cancelled. They used the word like suspended or something. I think F1 have left it open to rescheduling. However, I struggle to believe that's going to happen. I think the work that would be required to go into... I mean, the calendar's already stacked enough as it is. A degree of resource has, of course, been unfortunately wasted going towards, a lot of, the support series were out there as well. The support series were meant to be racing. A lot of the logistics were already on the way to Imola. Obviously, Monaco next week. So, to divert cargo and all that to Monaco from Imola, okay, that's, it could be a lot worse. Imagine if this was a Grand Prix that was, say this was an equivalent situation in Sao Paulo, stuff would have already been on the way that can't then go back because it's got to travel so far. At least in this instance, diverting to Monaco is a bit more manageable. So yeah, it's one of them. I don't expect the Grand Prix to come back. I think we'll just get 22 rounds this year now, to be honest. The calendar seems so stacked. Obviously, this was meant to be the first of a triple header, which obviously is not going to happen now. Could they squeeze it in later in the year? Maybe, but there's so much that goes into organising an event. So much, and I just think that maybe it's not worth it. And also, like, how long is it going to take for... Because if it is postponed, well, how long is it going to take for, not just the flood waters to subside, but also for, people to move back into their homes, for all the damage to be... I don't know, it just feels... There is a degree of kind of... What's the term? The kind of metrics of how it looks, I guess, to be... if we were to go back to Imola for a race, it would have to be in at least a few months to give the region time to kind of heal from what has been, like, pretty horrific in terms of, people have lost their lives, a lot of people have lost their houses. So I'm in no rush. Look, obviously, would it be nice for the race to go ahead? Of course, like a later date, yeah. But if it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'm not too like attached to the idea that it needs to be later this year. If we get 22 races, we get 22 races. So optics, that's it. Jenga, thank you. Yes, optics indeed. The optics would not be great, but go to Monza and race at Imola later. Look, I've seen people saying, yeah, because obviously Monza's not that far away, Mugello's not that far away, but it's really not that simple. Like, all of the... unless you are going to do, which... The thing is, right, people have booked tickets, people have got accommodation, been turning up to their Airbnbs that have been cancelled because... flood damage and all that. And yeah, it's... Even if F1 did a hyper, like, almost 2020-esque, okay, just divert to Mugello, that they're already, like, it takes time to pack like, even if you're not going to have all the media and all the fans there, this stuff still takes time, and it will still cost a lot of money. And Imola won't want that because they have paid to be on the calendar. You know what I mean? It just ultimately it ends up becoming it becomes more complicated than we'd like it to be, but that's the reality of it. The only real global sport that goes all around the world as part of its normal season, that's not something we really see with many other sports. So yeah, I don't think we'll be racing in Imola this year, which is a shame, but it is what it is. There's more important things in the world, and again, particularly obviously with AlphaTauri being based, in Faenza, and again, if you haven't seen the images from Faenza, like, it's pretty awful. This is AlphaTauri's hometown. They're based just outside of Faenza, I think, in like an industrial estate, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure plenty of AlphaTauri staff are living in Faenza, and are likely affected by all this. So yeah, we'll it is what it is. But yeah, if you want to donate to help support, then you can. Details are on screen. Right. What? To be honest, outside of this, because obviously the race isn't going ahead, there's been talk of a virtual GP actually. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe there might be a virtual GP. We'll see. Because obviously we've had this in the past when, obviously during lockdown, a lot of the drivers jumped on the sims. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if there's a virtual GP this weekend. That's all I'll say on that. But we'll see. Ferrari upgrades, yeah. A bunch of teams were planning upgrades, weren't they? I think Mercedes had some good upgrades bagged, didn't they? This is where it's a bit difficult as well. Not racing in Imola, which is a kind of classic track, but it's got all of the. It's got some good straight line sections. It's got some good slow, some decent medium speed corners. That would have been a really good place to test out these new, because this wasn't a sprint weekend, was it? It was last year, wasn't it? Imola was a sprint last year, but it's not this year, is it? And what am I saying? So yeah, it would have been a good place to test these upgrades. Obviously, we're going to Monaco next, which Monaco's not the place to test upgrades, is it? Let's be honest. Like, as tracks go to bring upgrades to, Monaco is probably not the one, because of how close the walls are, because of how unique the characteristics of that track is. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait till Spain, the race after that, to really, I think, see the value of the value of these upgrades. But what I will say is that I am optimistic about Monaco from a not Red Bull winning point of view, which is ultimately, as a neutral, what we want to see, right? Because we want to see some kind of competition. If Leclerc and Ferrari, who, the Ferrari and the Astons through the corners have been pretty much there with the Red Bull, especially over a lap. It's in other areas where the Red Bull excels, and obviously they excel a lot more on the tyres in the race. But, if Charles can do what Charles does and put it on pole without shunting this time, that'd be nice, Charles. Then I think a Ferrari Charles Leclerc race win could very much be on the cards for Monaco. But again, I just don't think, is it worth? I guess if you've already got the upgrades made and ships, then fine, you chuck them on for Monaco, don't you? But I guess part of the thing with Monaco is so reliant on driver confidence, that if you're bringing upgrades to a car that should change the way the car drives, is it a good idea to put them upgrades on at Monaco? Because also, obviously, you're much more likely to hit a wall in Monaco than you are in Catalunya. So if you aren't, say you're really confident in your car, but then you bring an upgrade that can theoretically add a couple of tenths, but then you lose 5%, 10% confidence. At a track like Monaco, where you can shunt really badly, we saw it with Mick Schumacher last year. Is it worth holding off the upgrades till Spain? I think that's a genuine thought process to go on there. A balancing act, I suppose. I guess if you think the upgrades are going to add a bunch of downfalls that you're really going to be able to exploit at Monaco, because Monaco's all about, biggest front wing, angle, big rear wings, maximum downforce bolted on. So I guess it depends on what the nature of your upgrade is, right? You won't have too many spares, yeah. I think again, Mercedes are talking about upgrades. It just depends on the philosophy and the direction of the upgrades. You still get 3 practice sessions at Monaco, so it's not like you don't get any mileage. It is just a bit risky, isn't it? They'll hold everything till Spain because they can benchmark the upgrades versus Monaco. Just mark the upgrades, yeah. Maybe Max, maybe we will see. But yeah, I'm hopeful for Ferrari for Monaco. This would have been I've got no reason to believe Imola would not have been a Red Bull Max Verstappen Sergio Perez 1-2, to be honest. But there you go. Barcelona's the perfect place for upgrade testing. Exactly. Right, chat. I'm kind of. I mean, we've covered Imola being cancelled. What else is there? What's been going on? I'm just trying to think in terms of what's been in the conversation at the moment. What's been being talked about? Without the Hiddish, yes, true. Remember, yeah, we are getting Spain without the horrible final corner chicane as well. So I'm actually quite excited. Sergeant being oh yes, I did see someone publish this. Apparently, Toto Wolff's putting the pressure on Williams to put Mick Schumacher in that seat instead of Logan Sargent, which feels like it's an odd one. I mean, why wouldn't they have gone? I guess Williams, when Mick was announced that he wasn't staying on, had Williams already announced Logan? Question. Because we know that Williams actually originally were going to have Piastri, weren't they? Originally it was going to be which is weird to think. It would have been Piastri Albon at Williams because Alpine were prepared to, lend Williams Piastri until Alonso assumingly left Alpine and then put him in the Alpine. That was the original plan. And well, yeah, because Logan was announced before the season ended, but that was the pressure. It was like, we want Logan, but he needs the super license points. And I guess Mick would have been the backup if Logan hadn't got the super license points, right? Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see by the end of the year, right? Williams would be, I guess, in Toto Wolff's ideal mind. If I was Toto Wolff, I'm hopeful that Mick Schumacher can become, when Lewis Hamilton retires, George Russell's number 2. Because if you want to fight for a title, and assuming Mercedes will have a car to fight for a title in 2025 or whatever, then you need a 1 and 2. Like Red Bull can afford to let Max and Checo battle now because their car's clear. If Aston and Ferrari were right up there with Red Bull right now, they would have to be pulling team orders to prioritise one driver if they wanted to win a driver's title. That's what they'd have to do. So I think that from Toto Wolff's point of view, what this tells me is that he wants, Mick to get into that Williams, give him more, experience in F1, because I do think Mick's got more to give. I do. I think that, he had his moments. Silverstone, Austria last year were really good. And for him to, for that to make sense, for Toto to be pushing for him to go into the Williams to make sense to me, because he's not showing the ability, he's not showing the class of someone like George Russell, who is going toe to toe with Lewis and, slightly outperforming him this year. It's marginal, but I'd say Georgia's got the slight edge. So going forward, yeah, because again, right now, if Mercedes had a top car now, they would have to pick between Hamilton and Russell, because you can't win a title when there's other teams involved with two number one drivers. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I just think that's what makes sense to me anyway. From that point of view, why Toto might be pushing for that. But I think Logan, Logan's had a Bahrain. He had an unreal first lap, didn't he? He's had his stinky moments, but he also did go quicker than Alex in Saudi, which I think is important to remember, because in dry conditions, Latifi never came close to really doing that. Well, he did come close a couple of times, to be fair, but he didn't manage it. Logan did. Yeah, he went over the white line, but I mean, that was just a bit silly. The pace was quicker. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah, I it depends how much Williams put on their relationship with Mercedes, I suppose, because they've been supplied by Mercedes for years, haven't they? Now, obviously, you've got Honda wanting to come in as an engine supplier. Potentially, Cadillac down the line, I guess, maybe. GM. So does Toto? Yeah, what it'd be interesting to see if Mick does get put in instead of Logan, then that would be really interesting. Like, it would be an interesting reflection of the dynamic, I guess, between them two teams. That's what I mean. But yeah, Charles being crash prone. Yeah, I kind of talked a little bit about Charles last week after the last race. Yeah, I mean, I just think that's kind of, he has to push hard. If the Ferrari was a better car, he wouldn't have to drive on the knife edge all the time. He does choose to drive on that knife edge. He could choose to drive a bit more conservatively and maybe score a few more points. But I don't think that's the driver. You wouldn't say the same to Max, would you? I genuinely think, because Max was playing catch up for a long time, and especially in his earlier years, he would shunt a lot. And I think when Max was playing catch up, he was more liable to a mistake. And I think that's not just reflection of Max, but I think him and Charles were two drivers who just drive on the knife edge all the time. They drive at 100%, and sometimes you go to 100.1 and you put it in the wall. But also, because as well, Max, some of Max's spins, some of Max's incidents, he hasn't gone in the wall. Like Hungary, when he did that 360 pirouette, credit to him for keeping it together, but also he could have quite easily gone into the wall. Cheers, Lowell, for the $2. 2 a.m. here in Los Angeles. Big up West Coast. But again, if anyone else wants to super chat, then do this instead. Support what's a pretty horrible situation right now in Emilia Romagna, if you can, of course, if you can. Right. Logan deserves all the season. De Vries, on the other hand, yeah, obviously my most recent video, I've been talking about Nick De Vries. There's been a lot of 5 races in. His average finishing position is 5.5 places lower than Yuki Tsunoda. The points don't tell the full story, but it's not been close, has it? And yeah, I think that if he wasn't as old and as experienced as a racing driver as he is, then he would be getting more benefit of the doubt. But unfortunately, those things are both true. So, Helmut Marko said he's been given a yellow card, but not a red. And it is a shame. It is a shame because, I don't want to see anyone not succeed. But at the end of the day, there was always going to be more expectation with Nick. I expected more from him. The amount of people who, understandably, not myself included, but probably mainly because I do really like Yuki Tsunoda. He's one of my favourite drivers, so I would give him more benefit of the doubt. The amount of people who thought Nick De Vries would probably beat Yuki Tsunoda And again, I don't blame people for thinking that way, at the start of the season. But right now, it's been nowhere near. Yes, he has out qualified him once. Credit to Nick for that. But yeah, it's just not good, is it? It's not. It's not looking good. It needs to be a big step up from Nick. I think like a significant step up, because you know I think Red Bull were hoping. And look, maybe this does demonstrate what I kind of said in my video. Maybe it is just Yuki doing a really good job. We say that AlphaTauri is one of the worst cars, but then he's put it P10 or P11 in every race. And when you think we've got an established top four, that means there's only like that top 8 is pretty much accounted for most races. So then it's only 9 and 10 who have points, and then P11 is Yuki. So yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult reflection because it's like, yeah, how good. And you look at how much Tsunoda caught up to Pierre last year. Still Pierre had the edge, but it's way closer than it was in Yuki's rookie season. So it's always going to be that's why I think Ricciardo would be a good move, because then you can see Yuki against Ricciardo and be like, okay, right. Red Bull will be able to see in the data. Okay, is Daniel? When I say Red Bull, I mean AlphaTauri, but you know what I mean. They'll be able to see, okay, how close Ricciardo's getting to the Ricciardo we all know and love. And then if Yuki can go on and match, or if not outperform that Daniel Ricciardo, then you've got one hell of a driver on your hands potentially. But again, benchmark is the thing, isn't it? Chorus, definitely. Exactly. Watch my previous video if you want my full breakdown on all of the options as well that could potentially fight. Lowell as well. Who wins in a fist fight? George versus Yuki. George, of course, because George has got the range. Come on. Alonso Monaco win discussed. Yeah, look, I think this is a great shot for Fernando. I think Monaco is a really good opportunity for a non-Red Bull car to win for sure, because again, it's all about qualifying, isn't it? And that's the one place where Red Bull haven't looked dominant. It's the race pace. Once they get their tyres up to temperature, they are, 0.5% ahead, which is significant, isn't it? Break, isn't it? Doesn't sound it, but it is. And yeah, I think it's a great shot for Fernando, for Charles, for Carlos, for everyone. It's a real opportunity, I do hope that what is it going to take for F1 to, if you cause a red flag, you lose your lap. Like, what's it going to take for that to happen? Because I really, I love Monaco qualifying when someone doesn't shunt it into the wall and ruin everyone else's lap. You know what I mean? Like, that is a little bit annoying when that happens. So, like, what's it going to take for them to change that rule? Because it seems to happen almost every year now at Monaco. And it's kind of a bit annoying. Do you think AlphaTauri may have issues with parts with all this happening? It's a good point, Helito. It's a good point. Obviously, again, this is the situation in Faenza at the moment. It's not good at all. And this is where AlphaTauri is based. So, I mean, yeah, in terms of their supply chain, I would be surprised if it isn't affected somewhat, I'd be very surprised if it's not affected. But also, I like to think that other teams will do what they can to support AlphaTauri as well. At the end of the day, it's one big family. Yes, these are teams competing against each other, but they're all, going around the same circus, all 10 teams every weekend. And, I don't know what the other teams can do to help, but I'm sure they will do what they can. You know what I mean? De Vries on DTS was talking bare mad about beating you. Look, and I think again, Helmut Marko before Nick joined was saying, I'm sure he was quoted saying like, I expect De Vries to be team leader or something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure one of you knows the quote in live chat. And maybe that was just to try and kind of, get in Yuki's head a bit and be like, okay, come on then. What do you think of that then, Yuki? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? But yeah, we will see. We will see. Is it confirmed that Daniel's? No, it's not. None of it's confirmed. But again, I think a lot of it comes down to what does Daniel want, and how is he going to maximise his chances of getting a top seat, because that's clearly what he wants. Yeah, one shot qualifying for Monaco. Come on, make it happen. I beg, please. That would be sick. What else is there to talk about, people? I'm trying to think that it's been pretty meh in terms of the news cycle outside of what's going on at the minute. I think Alonso will get that win. I think Alonso will get that win eventually, but it's only a matter of time, surely. So we really needed a race. Huh? Yeah, we did. We did need a race to give me something to talk about. Alpine and Ross's comments. Yeah, obviously, if you haven't seen it, Laurent Rossi had some choice words for his team before last race, and then they ended up actually doing quite well. So I don't know. I mean, Lauren's only saying what we all think, which is that team is perennially underachieving, should be doing better than it is, and like at the end of the day, he's responsible now. So I don't know. It's a difficult one with Alpine. I'd love to have more faith in them. I think Otmar mentioned he was like, "Oh, we're actually only 25 races into that 100 race plan." But I was like, "How can you just keep kicking that can down the road? Like, you just got to accept you're like midfield at the minute. You are clear of plenty of other teams, but also you're not knocking on the door. Just it would be really interesting to see by the end of the year. You look at the field spread after Bahrain versus the field spread at Abu Dhabi. What the kind of difference will be? You know what I mean? We'll see. We will see. They'll just move the 100 race target, exactly. Oh, dearie me. They will indeed. Yeah, it's just continue, which is a shame because I like that team. I like Enstone. I enjoy it. And I really want an Alpine. Like the cars themselves, I really like the Alpine. I really like the A110. Oh, have you all seen the new Renault 5-esque Alpine as well? Hang on, let me find a nice picture of it for the video viewers. It's like a concept, but it looks like it's on the way to be like the real thing, and it looks fire. It looks absolute fire. Hang on, let me go back to main screen, or you're going to get the intro again as well, because it's a great intro. Let me get some pictures up of this Renault. Just save them to... Oh my... A WebP file? Are you kidding? Don't do that to me. Stupid bloody thing. Right, I'm going to have to print screen it. Right, let's get some lovely pics of this beautiful little Renault. It's a very pretty car. You deserve to see it. Okay, you all deserve it. You definitely deserve it. Right, that's the front kind of quarter, and then let's get the back kind of angle as well. Lovely. This is glorious, wonderful, beautiful. We deserve Minton. Maybe you can see Minton at the end, but I want you to look at this really nice Renault first. That's what I want. Right, okay, here we go. So let's get downloads. And they are the two. Lovely. Boom. Right, so we've got... Let's just move them around on screen so you can still see me. So that's the most important thing. Hello. Look at that. Oh. Oh. Oh, look at it. It's beautiful. So it's an old, the Renault 5 was an absolute worldie. Now, obviously, the production car will not look anything like this, but it's about time that Alpine actually floated the idea of making another car. Not just the A110, you know? Not just the A110. No, I think the square rim is sick. I love it. I think it looks so cool. This is a bit of me. This is an absolute bit of me. Come on, this is gorgeous. Nah, you can't say this is an L. How can you say this is an L? This is a beautiful thing. I love it. This is a bit of me. Yeah, time for a poll actually. Good shout. Good shout. What do you think of this Alpine Renault 5 EV? And obviously it's an EV. Banger. So is it a banger? Is it decent? Is it or is it disgusting? There we go. Tell me what you think, chat. Tell me what you actually if I go over here and then I can put the images there and there. That frame that frames the screen a bit nicer, doesn't it? Look at that, see? I'm a live production man. That'll do. Whew. Mate, these are unreal. I won't hear any differently. Okay? These are bangers. Well, this is a banger. It's one car, but it's two angles of said car. What we're saying, 209 votes. We've got, it's quite an even spread actually, which is quite interesting. So 232, we've got what? 17% banger, 35% decent, 30% and 18% disgusting. That pretty much, yeah. Which actually, you know what? If you're equally loved and hated, you're kind of in the perfect place, aren't you? You know? Not too big on the lights. I mean, the little square lights maybe are a bit unnecessary on the front, but at the end of the day, Alpine are making more cars, hopefully, soon. Well, I mean, this probably won't hit production for about 20 years, so there you go. But this is really nice. I won't hear any different. Alpine, send me it. Send me it to test drive, please. That's not why I'm saying I like it. I do genuinely like it, by the way. But anyway, yes, there we go. Boom. Right. Okay. So you know what? There isn't really too much more to touch on. We've already talked about Imola. Again, if you want to donate, if you can donate, then feel free. Details are on screen. If you want to help support the region that's been hit by these pretty horrible floods. The race is off, and rightly so. We'll be back from Monaco. And yeah, stay safe, anyone who's out there, while anyone's affected. And Tommo Car Review channel, maybe one day, Charmander. Yeah, it's a rubbish situation. Nobody wins from this, but at the end of the day, the right decision was made. So thank you all for tuning in. I will go grab Minton because you deserve to see Minton. 2 secs. Let me play the intro again. Here he is. Look at him. Minton is here. You been sleeping, mate? Of course he has. Look at how tired he looks. Right, let's put you on my shoulder. Right. You good? You balanced? Or are you still too sleepy to balance? Oh, big yawn. There he is. Oh, you got smelly breath, mate. Need to give your teeth a brush. There he is. Into the miniature. Live and kicking. Well, he's not kicking, he's sleeping. Kicking in his sleep, maybe. Right. Again, thank you all for coming. Appreciate you all taking the time. Check out my most recent video as well, please. Go and watch it. And I talk about all of the potential, all the 15 drivers plus Nick who could potentially, realistically, be in with a shot of that AlphaTauri seat mid-season, assuming things don't improve. Hopefully they do for him, but I just don't see it. Right. Thanks, everyone. Stay well, be happy, be safe, drink water, which I haven't done on this stream. Goodbye. Bye bye bye.